When the morning's freshness has been replaced by the weariness of midday, when the leg muscles quiver under the strain, the climb seems endless, and suddenly nothing will go quite as you wish, it is then you must not hesitate. Dag Hammarskjöld.
Okay guys, let's huddle up. We got a long, hard day. It's been tiring on the water. Let's get this done. We got to get this set up before dark. Let's try our best to get it all ready and going.
I'm okay here. I think Grant might need some help with the tents.
I'm going to work on these tents. Why don't you go over there and help Ruth?
Why don't you start the meal? I'm going to try and get this tarp up. Why don't you give us a hand with the canoes?
Okay, we got to get the food out of the canoes and hang them up in the trees so they're away from the animals in the night. So let's just get on with that. Okay, listen up, folks. This is not working. We're not going to have this done before dark. Everybody's working for themselves, and it's just not happening. We will not be done by dark, and that'll be a big-time problem.
Well, I know I could certainly use some help with this tarp. I'm not being very successful by myself.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I could use some help with these tents.
Okay, they were in agreement then. How do we proceed?
I'd say we do what we're best at.
Okay, then let's develop a list of things we have to do, what's important, and do that first, and then whatever we have to have before dark, and proceed from there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, let's do it. The tarps and the tent are the most difficult. So after dark, so let's start with them first.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe the second thing is to get the meal started and to take the extra supplies and get them put away someplace safe, but where we can find them if we need them in the dark, eh?
Okay, I agree with that, but I'd like to go get some firewood and some kindling while it's still light now.
idea.
Although, actually, what I should probably do is help Joe and Maureen unpack the canoes, and then I'll go look for firewood while Joe and Maureen help Grant and Ruth put up the tents and the tarp. Why don't you start dinner?
Yeah, I agree with James. Oh, that's scary. I agree with James. Well, what do we need to do next?
I think this is coming together really well. When we finish our task, let's go on and help the other person with their tasks.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're done early.
Yeah,
Let's,
sounds
you know,
good.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
like a plan.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
The correct choice in this case was to focus on the ensuing problem and team goals rather than the personal preferences. If darkness falls, then the team may have additional issues, such as not storing food properly or gear getting wet because the tarp has not been put up correctly. A short discussion of the team's priorities and then ranking them was required here, as well as building a consensus, allocating tasks and moving toward greater productivity. Since you've managed to construct the campsite well before darkness, made the dinner, and had virtually everything organized in record time, I really want you to settle in and enjoy the campfire tonight. I think that you will have lots to discuss and reflect upon.
A strategy for success. Set your goal, plan and prepare, proceed with full confidence, don't give up. Alonzo Stagg. People are unhappy, not because their standards are too high, but because their performance has been and is too low. The solution is not to lower the aim, but to increase the accomplishment. William Glasser.
You gotta love a good campfire, eh, James?
Yeah. Sound, smell, everything. It's nice after a long day's work.
Good ending to a hard day. Nice and relaxing.
I got this little incense burner at home. It burns and smells just like a campfire. Take me camping someday. Yeah, gotta love it.
We should have some campfire stories. Joe, I bet you've got some stories, eh?
Oh, there's
What
lots
about
of
it?
stories, Ruth.
Eh?
I'll tell you one story that happened to me a few years ago. A neighbor came to the door one night, late at night, about 11 o'clock, and knocked on the door, and he wanted to know if I would help search for a man who was lost in the woods, because I particularly knew this piece of country. And he came and asked, and he had about 8 people with him. I knew none of those people at all. They were all strangers to me, except for a couple of young boys that were there. I knew them from, they were cousins of the person who was lost. So we went back, organized a search. We got the lines all laid out, and we got the lines all where people would stand so many feet apart and go through this piece of woods. And I organized all that, and we started operating as a team, going through the woods looking for this man and hollering. As I bent down to go under a fir tree, the stabbing pain caught me in the eye. And when I reached my hand up, there was a stick stuck in my eye.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And I was immediately in pain, and I was on the ground. And I have no idea what I said or how I hollered, but I must have screamed because they all gathered around. Now, understand, I was a leader of the group at this point, but now the leader is incapacitated, and these people have no idea what to do. But the two young boys, they organized the whole thing out. First thing they said was, don't take the stick out. We might do more damage, you know, than is already done. We had no idea what the damage was, but I knew I was in pain, and I could feel water running down my face, or liquid running down my face. Yeah, just thinking about it now just sends shivers.
Yeah.
The two boys got everybody organized as a group, and had two functions, and they had two objects. They had to first still look for the lost man, and the second one was to get me out. And the leader was totally incapacitated. Out of this group of people who were not organized at all, in fact, they were so unorganized, they came and got me to go help them, and here I am on the ground. Two young boys organized it so that one person went with me, one person went out ahead of us to the tote road, the woods road, brought a truck in to meet us on the survey line, got me, took me to the hospital, and kept the search going and found the guy. Isn't that incredible? The interesting thing was it all came from two boys.
You really got to give kids more credit
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
I know my boys are constantly surprising me.
That's interesting, Joe. But not all teams work as well as that. I was on a team last year, a team in name only, that is. We were asked to work on a performance management project, and we were told, you're highly visible here. Take risks, be creative, but come up with something really good. And don't screw up. Talk about disempowerment. The director was a jerk. The team was totally lacking motivation. Then we were told we had to come up with a team name, an identity thing, I guess. We spent weeks sorting through information, going through this elaborate nominal group technique, only to find out at the end of the day, when we told the director the team name, he said, oh no, you'll be called corporate associates. What was the point of all that? What was the point of all that? I mean, I just want to get rid of all this rhetoric. I want things to, when people talk like that, I want to see some action to all of this.
Interesting you say that, Grant. Sometimes it does work. Most times it does. I mean, building teams is a good idea. One time I was a scout leader, and we were doing a trip, and we had the whole winter to prepare for the trip. So we had all this time to function on deciding who would do what and where and how and when. And it was a hiking trip back to a lake. Everybody had a function in the trip. As the trip proceeded, no matter what happened in that trip, no matter what happened, people got together to solve the problems. Well, when those boys got under duress, like when it snowed and people got wet, you'd find they would look to who would do what. And when somebody twisted their ankle during the trip, you could hear it in the air, like a busyness, like a buzz. What can I do? How does this, and it does work as a team. At times, it may not seem it. And sometimes it's not as easy out here as it seems. It's not like a trip walk in the park, as it were. There's things that can get you, and it takes a team to build through that, to get that thing done. In the end, the Boy Scouts were singing, laughing, carrying on all the way back to camp. It was inspirational to see. That was because they were well organized and they understood their function, what they were doing.
Wow, you've done a lot of stuff, Joe.
I've been.
Yeah, good stories. And it'd be nice to think that our team could be like some of the ones you just talked about. But
Just takes effort.
Yeah. I think tomorrow will go a little bit better.
We're tired now.
Yeah, I think that, the ice has been broken, and we're getting to know each other and to trust one another. I mean, what could go wrong? I'm sure that we're going to get there in lots of time. We're going to do really well tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, we're building a culture. We're developing trust and rituals for our members to value one another, value diversity, and become creative. Yeah,
Yeah, Ruthie? Things are starting to work out okay.
yeah, sure.